Kisu Quislam, Kisu Kukit, Kisu Kwakwayat, Kapinishkish. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all my wealthy warriors. My name is Kenshuke Teshmiet, and I'm coming from the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh people. Sukini for allowing me to be a guest, to play, to live, to enjoy your beautiful lands. And this is my second take on this video. I recorded one just earlier today, this morning, and I was getting ready to edit it and upload it, and for some reason it didn't save, and I felt really, really powerful. Like, I felt great about that podcast, about that talk. So we're gonna try to reproduce it, but it's gonna be different now, because my podcasts are always shotgun style, just one take, one go, and I always get lost in the moment of talking. But we're gonna do our best. We are gonna do our best to recreate that, because everything happens for the right reasons, right? And this is just an example of it. So this week I want to jump into a story time. So story time. There's this girl, and she comes to her father, and she's just frustrated with life. She's frustrated with it because she tells her dad it's just set of, it's full of setbacks. It's just one setback happens, then not too long after another setback happens, and it just feels like there's no end to those setbacks and the problems, quote unquote problems. And her dad, being a chef, doesn't say much. Sorry about that. Got a dry throat right now. Don't have any water around me. But her dad, being a chef, says, come with me. Like, basically just brings her into the kitchen. He grabs 3 pots that are the same size, fills them all up with water, the same level, puts them all on the stove, turns the stove on. He grabs some eggs from the fridge, puts the eggs in the water, grabs a potato, puts it in the second pot. He grinds up some coffee beans and puts it in the third pot. And he just stands there and he observes it, just waiting for the water to boil. And his daughter has no idea what's going on, because she came to him for advice on her setbacks. And she's starting to get frustrated even more, and she's getting a little bit more angry, and she's like, Dad, what does this have to do with what's going on in my life? Why are we in the kitchen? I don't get this. Why are we cooking food? This has no construct with what's going on in my life. And he just stands there, quietly, and smiles at her. And some time goes on. 20 minutes pass, whatever, right? And the water's all done boiling. He turns them all off. And he grabs the eggs, pulls them out of the water. Grabs the potato, grabs it out of the water too with the spoon. And then he just leaves the coffee in the water. And he says, go look at the egg and just check the egg out. And the daughter's looking at it, and as he's looking at it, he grabs a cup, and a clear cup, and pours the coffee into that cup and sets it down by the eggs and the potatoes. And he's like, what's changed about that? And she's like, well, because she knows, the concept of food and cooking. She's like, well, the egg's hard now. It's cooked and it's boiled. And then he said, look at the potato. What happened? And she's like, well, it's soft now. And you can mush it up and you can make, mashed potatoes from it. And then they look at the coffee and it's a dark color. You can no longer see through the water, which was once clear. And he said, what was the same deciding factor for all of these three things? And she didn't really know what he meant. So she's like, I don't know. And he's like, the atmosphere it was that these three things were in was the deciding factor on their outcome. And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, they were all put in boiling water. The same temperature, the same levels. It was all the same atmosphere. But what happened when they were in that atmosphere of that boiling water changed them, transformed them into what they are now. That egg was once soft, like it was brittle, it was fragile. If you crack that egg before it was in that water, liquid would come out and it would just spew all over the place and you wouldn't be able to eat it. It was put in that water and it came out hard. And that's in life. Sometimes certain situations will happen to us and we get that, what they call that chip on our shoulder. We hold grudges. We become angry. We become mad. We become frustrated with life. The potato went in hard and rigid. You could drop it and it wouldn't really affect it. But that boiling water, it started to beat it down, to make it soft, to make it malleable, to make it be able to be mushed up. When we go into something, we're confident, but say it's something new we haven't really tried before, and we quote unquote fail, and we get beaten down, and we lose that confidence, and we think that, hey, this isn't for us, this just isn't for me, because we're expecting for it to line up, for it to happen right away. We're expecting, to come out and become a professional, like YouTuber or whatever, right off the hop. We're thinking we'll become an NFL player by playing in one practice or doing this once, when it takes repetition. But that potato goes in there hard and strong and rigid, and the water, the boiling water, that atmosphere beats its spirit down, makes it soft, makes it like a beaten dog almost, running around with his tail behind us, or his tail is between its legs. When you beat a dog, it'll start to be like that and quiver. And that's how sometimes, certain atmospheres will change people. And the thing with the coffee is that it changed its environment. That boiling water was changed by the coffee beans. The coffee beans adapted to that situation, to that thing and that event that was going on. And that's what we need to do in life more often. It's okay to be frustrated and angry and, upset and whatever, but it's not okay to stay there. Because if we stay in that atmosphere too long, we'll become hard, bitter like that. Eggs aren't bitter, but you'll become hard like that egg. You'll hold that grudge. Or you'll become soft and beaten down like that potato. if you stay in that atmosphere for too long, instead of becoming like that coffee and adapting to the situation. And speaking of coffee, I'm drinking my coffee right now. So become like that coffee and adapt to that situation. Use those emotions to project you in the proper way, but don't stay in them too long. I don't ever stay in emotions too long, because I know if I do, it's gonna change me into that potato or that egg. And I'm a professional at being like that as well. I'm like you, I'm a human. I held on to grudges for too long, which I didn't need to, and they weren't hurting anyone else. Holding on to this grudge was only affecting me as who I was as a person. Like it was making me hard, and holding that grudge, and it's not good for your stress levels, your mental health, your body. It's not good for you to hold on to those things. You're only affecting yourself by doing that. You need to let that go. But everyone has their own journey, everyone has their own things. This is just what I've been looking at in my life. And just recently I went through a situation where I've already let it go. I've walked in faith with Nipika, Creator. I've walked in faith with Creator with this past situation. And some of you may know from watching my vlogs, I've talked about wanting to upgrade my vehicle, and there was a vehicle that I was interested in, and it was the right price and the right kilometers, and everything was just seeming like it was lining up for it. And I've been praying and smudging and saying, just guide me on this, and if it's right for me, make it happen, and if it's not, then that's okay. So I went in 3 days ago now, test drove it, liked it, and then we were talking over, and we sat down to start talking numbers, and I already knew what it was listed for. And then the dealer was like, oh, what did you see it online listed for? And I told him the number, and then he came back with a number that was like $4,000 more. And I was like, whoa, what is this? He's like, well, there's this fee and that fee and this fee. And I'm like, whoa, I don't need any of those fees, because this is a used car. I'm going to buy extended warranty on it anyways, privately. And then they came back with another number. And I was like, no, I'm not paying that. That's not the price that you guys have it listed as. No, that's not how I'm doing it. So then they came back with that number that they had listed at. Like, okay, we'll do it like this. Just initial it, and we'll agree on it. And they had in tiny fine print, like kind of not even 100% visible writing, that they would honor that price if I bought extended warranty through them. But I didn't see that part, and I initialed it, and then they walked away knowing they had the upper hand. So I came back 2 days later, when the person, the finance manager lady who can finalize the deals and take the cash and whatever, right? I had to wait there about an hour. So I told them I was going to be there at a certain time, between a half an hour. I gave them a half an hour period. I said this time and this time I'll be here between, just judging on traffic and things like that. And I got there, and he wasn't ready for me. He was with someone else. So I was sitting there for about an hour. I let that slide, whatever, cool. And then, so it comes time to looking at my vehicle to trade in, and I had already done some research, and I already had a gut feeling on roughly what was a fair trade-in for my vehicle. I gave him that price, and they went and looked at it, and then he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go talk to my manager, blah blah blah. And then the manager shot that down and like gave me a price like 90% cheaper than what I asked for. So this is like almost 99% cheaper than what I could get it on, just private sale. I know I can get it cheaper. I wasn't going to get anywhere close to where I was going to get on the market. Like, so say I sold it privately, I know if I traded it in, that trade-in value depreciates like 50 to 60% you will slash on that for a trade-in. So what I was asking on the market, I slashed 45% off of it. Went a little higher because I knew they would come back. I knew I was hoping they would counteract it with 50 to 60% off. But they came back with like 90. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of disrespectful and a slap in the face, whatever. I was like, I'll just sell it online then, privately, whatever. And then, so it came time to sign the papers. And then he's like, yeah, we needed a deposit down. I was like, well, for what? And he was like, so we can get you up to the finance manager so you can talk over warranties, extended warranties. I'm like, well, I'm going to buy it through the company I'm already with on my vehicle because you'll get a discount, and he's like, no, that was in the agreement that we'll give it to you at this price if you buy extended warranty through us. And then he like came back and he like circled what I signed, and it was in very small, like very like not even 100% visible print. You had to actually like really look at it to see what it said. He's like, yeah, it says right there that you'll buy extended warranty through us and we'll honor this price. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. Because I know that if I do that, they're going to corner me into trying to buy like a $4,000 extended warranty that I do not need. They'll try to overprice it so they can get their extra profit on that end. And me, not acting on my anger or things like that. I was adapting to the situation, and I was thinking it with a clear head. I'm like, okay, this is what they're trying to do. I know what they're trying to do. I know the game. Instead of getting frustrated and all that, I'm like, and I straight up told them what. I was like, I know what you guys are trying to do. You guys are trying to make it profit on the back end. You guys are trying to corner me in to doing this, because if I give them a down deposit, they were asking like $500 to $1,000, which was non-refundable, which I think is illegal, honestly. But they're like, yeah, you don't get that money back because that's your way in to talk to the finance manager. Because if you're not gonna go through with the warranties that we have for you, then you can just get up and walk away, and you've just wasted everyone's time. You've wasted that manager's time, you wasted my time, blah blah blah. And I was like, but $500 to see someone to maybe get a vehicle? I was like, this ain't happening. And so I was like, so we tried to haggle a little bit more, and they're like, all right, well, we'll add this $2,000 back on, and you can pay this, and you don't have to buy the warranty. And I'm like, no, this is not in your contract. This is not on the site. This is not where I found this. None of this is on here. So I'm like, all right, thank you for your time. I just got up and left, grabbed my insurance from my vehicle and left. And I told them, I was like, I'm honestly going to give an honest, fair Google review on you guys, on what you guys do. And because if I wasn't confident in who I was, if I wasn't, adapting to that situation, like the coffee, I may have just signed that paperwork out of fear of losing that vehicle. How many people have they bullied into that situation to where they get that vehicle and then they leave, and then down the road they're mad and they're bitter and they're angry because they can't afford the payments on that vehicle because they were cornered into that situation and they couldn't adapt. They were, boiled to that hard-boiled egg. I'm like, that's not right. So I gave them an honest Google review as soon as I left, and I told the situation, and I said, I even put the numbers out there, what they were trying to charge me extra on top of that on their listing. And they were already shady about it because they had listed this vehicle with 3 different dealers in 3 different areas in the Vancouver area, 3 different cities around Vancouver, with different kilometers. So they changed the kilometers a little bit higher and lower, and they would start off with different pictures of that vehicle to saturate the market. And they do that with all their used vehicles, which is kind of not a good way to do business, because now you're making people think that you're the best deal when you're not. You're just saturating and flooding the market with a bunch of the same vehicle at different prices. And like I said, I do my research and I adapt to the situation. And then I even told them that. I was like, you guys, this is what you guys do. This is not an honest, fair way of doing business. So I gave them a Google review. I actually went onto those sites and reported them as well as being misinformation, because they had basically flooded the market with the same vehicle 3 times. And I was in afterwards, I was kind of hungry. Well, I was hungry because I was there for 4 hours. No water, nothing. And I had to go work out too. Still had to work out that day. And I stopped by my friend Jai and JL's active body supplement store, because it was JL's birthday and they were having buy one get one off, and I'm running out of protein, so I was buying more protein. And I grabbed a smoothie to tie me over until I got home to eat some food. And you know what's so crazy is that you never know who you're going to impact throughout your day by the situations you go through. It was funny because within that 10-15 minutes of me being at the store, there was 5 of us, and 3 of us out of those 5 people were looking for vehicles. Myself and 2 other people. One is actually looking this week at vehicles. Another one within the next 2 months. And I told them my situation that happened, and they said, wow, really? And I'm like, yeah. So do your due diligence, do your research, read over the contracts, the paperwork, all that. And if these people would have just honored their number instead of trying to, not be, they were being shady about it, they would have potentially had 2 more sales. And that's what people don't realize, is that the effect that we have on one person, we don't know how it's going to ripple back to us. Like that situation. They could have potentially had 2 more sales. I can be like, oh yeah, I just came from this dealership, blah, 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 and it was good, and they treated me well. But now it's a total opposite. Because these people these dealers are looking at it as a finite game. They're not looking at it as an infinite game. They're only focused on the deal with me, on this deal, on the profit they can make right now. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong, is they only look at that certain interaction as a single transaction, not really realizing that they don't know who I am. They don't know who I know. They don't know who I'm going to talk to. They don't know who I'm going to impact, who I can refer to them, who I can bring to them. Who knows? Maybe I could have known someone who is rich or starting a company or whatever, and who wanted to buy a fleet of vehicles. I could have referred them to them and said, hey, they treated me good, blah, blah, blah. But no, it was the exact opposite, where I felt sour. I didn't feel like I was being respected there and treated good. Like they were just trying to do things very sneakily, and I didn't appreciate that. So I told them what happened and the honest truth, and well, we're not going to go there. And they were thanking me for, just doing the due diligence of looking over the paperwork, adapting to the situation. And basically, the finance manager saw my Google review, called me and apologized. He's like, I'm sorry, I wish I had time to talk to you before you left on everything. And he knew what was going on. It's funny because the dealer kept going, the car salesman kept going away to talk to that guy. So that guy knew exactly what was going on. So he's trying to play me like he's the good guy. And I'm like, cool, I let it go now. Because that whole time, I was listening to my gut. And my gut kept telling me that second price was not worth it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're not going to be happy. You're going to regret it later on. Just get up and walk away. There's more out there. There's an abundance of vehicles out there. This one just wasn't for you right now. And I was okay with that. And he called me back and apologizing, kind of kissing ass. And he said, can we just do it? Can we just give you that original price that we had it listed for with no ties? And I was like, I don't know now. Honestly, I don't know. Because I see how you guys treat people and I see how you do business. I got to think about it. I said, I'm at the gym right now. I need to just work off my anger, which the gym helped work off my anger and make me feel good. And I was like, come back to me Monday. I might or might not want it. And I just thanked the creator. I just thanked Napika for guiding me, for allowing me to adapt to that situation and not allowing my emotions get the best of me, right? Not allowing me to cower in to that contract and sign that contract I wouldn't be happy with. So become the coffee, as I'm drinking coffee, become the coffee. Adapt to your situations. Take that time to become the water, like the coffee beans do. They become one with that water and they adapt and they change that situation. You can do it. Just practice. Trust your gut. When you start to follow your gut feeling, that intuition gets stronger and stronger because it's always there, right? That you've done it before where you had that gut feeling, but then you go with your mind and you double think it and you go with the opposite, and then the opposite happened. You're like, oh man, I should have just went with my gut. But your gut is your first instinct. It's your intuition. It knows. That's where energy comes from. When you're a baby, that's where you're fed from. That's where the first bit of energy of life that comes to you is through your gut. It's through your belly button, right? So our bodies are so accustomed to having that energy and that knowing, that gut feeling. So just listen to it more, and it will get stronger with time. The more you listen to it, you'll be able to adapt to your situations. So with that, I am going to jump off. Have an amazing week. I will see you next Wednesday. Sukani, take care. Dagas. And before I go, I want to ask you just one thing. I want to challenge you to share this with one person. Let's build this community to where it needs to be. Let's build this community with people who want to leave this place a little bit better. The new year is coming up, so I would truly love it if we could build this community to a couple thousand, by the new year. It would really help me out with my algorithms as well, and growing and getting more connections and helping people, so I can do this more often. So I have the flexibility to do these things more often. So that is my wish from you. I don't ask much from people, but I understand now that it takes a community, it takes a team of people to reach a goal. I've been so used to doing it all on my own, not realizing that I have a community here. You listening to this, wherever you listen to it on, whether it be through audio on podcasts or through YouTube, you are the community. You are my community that can help build this bigger. So please, like this if you can, write some comments, on what you thought of this, and share it with one person. Tsukini, thank you for that. So have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next Wednesday. And remember, everything always happens for the right reasons. Take care.